वेलकम बैक फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू बुक लवर चैनल। आज हम लोग करने वाले हैं इस बुक का लास्ट सेगमेंट। द नेम ऑफ द बुक इज सती बाय डॉक्टर मीनाक्षी जैन। ये बुक है जो मैं काफी वक्त से पढ़ रहा हूँ। ये तीसरा इसका रिव्यू है, थर्ड पार्ट है। दिस इज थर्ड पार्ट ऑफ द रिव्यू ऑफ दिस बुक। लेट अस नाउ स्टार्ट। In this last segment, we are going to concentrate on page number 200 to 432. काफी सारे pages हैं. There's a huge pages. There are a lot of pages in this book. 432 odd pages. This is the last segment, and we are going to concentrate on how narratives are built. Then we are going to look at examples of how voluntary it was. Third, we are going to look at an aspect of Sati which we never knew. We were always under the impression that Sati was committed or happened only with females. We do have instances, multiple instances of cases where even males have died along with the kings. So let us start. I will read out an excerpt from page number 200 of this book. It starts like this. Though the court of directors remained diffident on the issue of abolition of sati, the efforts of the missionaries began to produce results elsewhere. In 1812, Thomas Fowell Buxton, MP for Weymouth and an important leader of the Clapham sect, moved the House of Commons for the publication of all correspondence relating to sati. The proposal was accepted. Now, the question is, why are they so interested in publication of all the events of Sati? What will they do with such content? You have to think. What will they do with the content? Now the big question is, what are they going to do with this content? First they will gather this content, then they will publish it. And they got this pass it. So imagine how many books, how many contents were written about this. I'll read further. On page number 201, in January 1805, therefore, Lord Wellesley asked the judges of Nizamat Adalat, the Supreme Criminal Court, to ascertain how, from Pandits, how far Sati is founded on the religious opinion of the Hindus, so that they could decide whether this unnatural and inhuman custom could be abolished altogether. It is argued that this line is important. This line is very important. It is argued that the British thereby virtually orchestrated. It is argued that the British thereby virtually orchestrated the articulation of a textual tradition and scriptural sanction for widow immolation in bracket Lumba 1993 colon 212 bracket close. So the last line is very important. It says, it argued that the British thereby virtually orchestrated the articulation of a textual tradition and a scriptural sanction. Who orchestrated? And what? Scriptural sanction for widow immolation. So what does it say? I'll leave it to your intelligence. Think about this point. Whatever you find in this book is written by someone who is famous for hardcore research. The person who has written this book is full of knowledge. On page number 213, there is a chapter called Sati, an infrequent occurrence. Chapter itself says it's an infrequent occurrence. I will read the first paragraph. The strident evangelical missionary campaign virtually drowned out other voices on Sati. Several near contemporary and contemporary observers had, however, noted that Sati was not a common practice, not a common custom. There was the interesting case of a traveler who admitted that he had incorporated a fake account of Sati in his narrative to enhance the popularity of his work. A fake account. Someone has written a fake story. The person is himself accepting this. We don't know how many more such cases might be there during those periods. I'll be randomly going around this book, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to read out some important passages. The whole book is full of stories, authenticated stories, which say that this particular practice was not forced upon. It was voluntary in its own core nature. We in this video are not trying to support any kind of activity. We are just telling you how things were. I will read out the further passage. Sati in Ceylon. This comes from page number 227. The Akbar al-Sinwal, Hind, compiled in 851, in bracket Ahmad 198953, bracket close. Sometimes when a king is cremated, his wife enters the fire and burns herself along with him. But if they do not wish, they do not do so. So you see, it was not compulsory, it was not forced. One more example, I will read out to you. Page number 244. Sati at Calicut among Brahmins, Francois Pairard of Laval, AD 1607. I am reading the following. The wives of Nayars are not required to do this, that is Sati. Although it is said that one will sometimes cast herself upon the fire out of affection and of her own free will, but they are not bound to do it and are even free to marry again without dishonor, provided they are not of the Brahmini caste. On page number 214, the whole page itself speaks volumes about how voluntary or not voluntary it was. I will read out the whole page. It is a rather long read, but I have to do that. Till the colonial debate commenced, most foreign travelers had declared that Sati was not a pervasive practice. Francisco Pelsaret, writing in the time of the Mughal Emperor Jahangir, noted that there are hundreds or even thousands who do not do it. This is quoted from Pelsaret 2001-79, section B 249. Pietro della Valle confirmed this burning of women upon death of their husband is at their own choice to do it or not, and indeed few practice it. Della Valle 1991-84-5, section B 252. In 1624, Reverend Henry Lord also observed that the examples be more rare than in former times. Francois Martin of the French East India Company. Oh, I never knew French East India Company was also there. Francois Martin of the French East India Company, who arrived in India in 1669 and stayed on till his death in 1706, held that custom was not very widely practiced now. Now let us read what the East India Company had to say about this. Even officials of the East India Company till the closing decades of 18th century affirmed that Sati was not widely prevalent. Alexander Dow in 1770 stated that the practice had for the most part fallen into desuetude in India and was it reckoned a religious duty as a very erroneously supposed in the West. So these are certain examples which give you a very good idea of the nature of Sati. Again, we are not trying to glorify or glamorize something which is not correct. I will read on page number 215 two more paragraphs that will put some more light on the nature of Sati. Page number 215. James Forbes, who joined the English East India Company in 1766 and left India in 1783. The dates are very important. 1766 he came and he left India on 1783. After 17 years of service. How many years? 17 years. Recorded that he never been an eyewitness to the extraordinary sacrifice called Sati. This comes from Forbes 1-1988-279. So he did not see anything in such a big duration. H.T. Coolbrook, 1765 to 1837, judge and later head of the Sardar Divani Adalat and professor of Hindu law and Sanskrit at Fort William College, who spent over 3 decades in Bengal, said that practice was rare. So these are some of the examples. The book is full of such examples I can't go on and on. The thing is, we have been always been told that we lack human sentiments. We do all these kind of things. Sati was very common. If you go out to our ancient texts like Mahabharata and Ramayana, Mahabharata, there are many characters whose husband died and they went on to take the command of the whole kingdom and run the kingdom properly. There are enough stories. We should ask this question to people who ask us about all these things. This book is a gem of a book. It took me a long time because what happens is sometimes you get the same stories again and again, but of different location. The example, there are many cases where it was very mandatory during the different periods, where like during the British period, during Mughal period, and all those periods, it was mandatory for the person who was committing sati to have a license or have a permission of the ruling entities then. So in many cases, the ruling entities will not give permission. Then the woman whose husband has died will have to go out of her way to prove that she is not afraid of doing this and she wants to do it. There are cases of women trying to put their finger into the fire and show it in front of governors and different people who can give permission. And there are cases also of women telling that if you don't give permission, I will anyway die. These are all documented in this book. So the crux is, the whole thing is that we don't know our history properly. It's not our mistake to a large extent. Our books are like that. And we don't do much reading. The thing is, we should read. Whenever you read, it helps you to combat the future possibility of Alzheimer, Parkinson. Reading one page will help you in lot ways. One page each day, try to read something. Very good for your brain. I will now wind up with giving two more paragraphs. One para will speak about the state of mind of the woman who is about to commit suicide. It is very sad to read, but you need to read that to understand the thought process behind it. And she's on the pyre, on the wood, worshipping towards the direction of sunrise. And this done, she calls her sons, kindred and friends, and to each she gives a jewel, whereof she has many with her. And in the same way, every piece of her clothing until is left except a small piece of cloth with which she is clothed for the waist down. How can someone be like, someone is about to die and someone is being forced? If you imagine someone is being forced, that person is calling all the family members and giving away her jewels. It is like a way of telling that I am going, I don't need this anymore. Then below there is a paragraph where you can see that it was not only females who committed sati, even males committed sati. This was news to me also. I never knew this. I will read the paragraph for you. This abominable practice of burning is so customary and is held in such honor among them. It is customary among certain sections only. When if you read this from here, you will think that it is customary across the whole segment. It is not the case. It is customary related to a particular sect of people, a particular king, a particular region. This abominable practice of burning is so customary and is held in such honor among them that when the king dies, 400 or 500 women burn themselves. Many men who are his intimates are also burned with him. It was customary in those days for men in the service of king to vow to die with him. So, you see, male, female, out of affection, rare events, out of compulsion. Rare, very rare. So the whole thing is, the more you read, the more you know about your people, your own land, how narratives are built. It is so simple, When some days back when I was watching Mahabharata, this thing came to my mind. In Mahabharata also, a king had two wives. One of the wife stays back to lead the family. She never commits sati. The other one does that. Again, it was for free will, free choice. In this book also, there are so many instances where families have literally begged the female from not committing sati. Have you ever seen this in the movies which are created in the old days on sati? Have you ever heard about these people also? These men and women
who tried their best to stop the lady from committing. There are also stories of brave women, warriors, who, after the death of their husbands, have continued. We have Veer Viranganas who have done that. This book covers all those. This book makes for very good reading. This book is not against anyone. This is just a collection of all the things that tell us a story. Makes for good reading. It took me a while to finish this book, but this book is so nice. You must read this once. Thank you. See you again with a new book.